Good afternoon and welcome everyone here to First Unitarian Church of Portland, those gathered here in person and those joining us virtually. We gather together this afternoon, graced by gentle rain, graced by moments of sunshine. We gather together as a people of faith, as Unitarian Universalists. We gather together as members of this congregation and as a cloud of witnesses from near and from far. We gather to welcome and to install a new senior minister of this great congregation. In our gathering, let us remember all those who have gone before us. In our gathering, let us remember the preachers and the teachers, the singers and the sustainers, those whose names we remember, those names long forgotten. In our gathering, let us be mindful that so many have brought us to this day. In our gathering, let us recognize the indigenous peoples on whose land we meet and on whose land this congregation was built. This afternoon, we recognize the Multnomah, Clackamas, Clawawalla, or Willamette Tumwater, the Cascades or Watala bands of the Chinookan peoples, and the Tualatin band of the Kalapuya. These indigenous people signed the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 and were later forcibly removed from their homelands to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Their descendants live today as members of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. Many other indigenous nations of the Columbia River have connections to this place as well, and their descendants also live on. We acknowledge the ancestors and survivors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. We honor their legacy, their lives, and their descendants who carry on tribal traditions for present and for future generations. Mindful of this history, mindful of our future, we celebrate this congregation for all it is today, for the community it creates, the witness it bears, but most of all, as we gather on this day, let us rededicate ourselves to the vision of a place where all are welcome at the table, where all God's children are well, where all God's children know peace and joy and love. What they dreamed be ours to do, hope and their hopes, and seal them true. And so, good people, let us gather now in reverence. Let us gather now in hope. Let us gather now this day in love. Welcome to this service of installation. Please join as we sing together the processional hymn, Rank by Rank. Please be seated, everyone. David and Asher are going to light our chalice today. Asher's going to first offer a children's chalice lighting.
We are the church of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hands. We help bring peace and justice into the world.
We are Unitarian Universalists.
We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Greetings. I am Charles Dumond. I serve as co-moderator of the UA with the Reverend Meg Riley, and I bring you 3 sets of greetings. First, a message from Meg, who was not able to be here because she had already agreed to keynote a conference in Germany, where they asked her to do a 2.5-hour keynote. Anyway, Meg says, I deeply regret I can't be there to celebrate this generative new partnership between Alison and First Portland. I have loved you both for decades, so this is like seeing 2 dear old friends join forces to help us all. I can't wait to see what transpires. Second, a message from the Reverend Carlton E. Smith, the regional lead of the Pacific Western region of the UUA. Carlton says, good afternoon, dear Reverend Alison and members and friends of First Portland. What an exciting day this is as the gathered community affirms Reverend Alison's call as senior minister. I would have loved to have been with you all today, but I had already committed to preaching Reverend Jennifer Youngson-Rue's installation at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Eugene this afternoon by the time Reverend Alison's installation was announced. All the same, know that I and the Pacific Western Region Congregational Life Staff team share in celebration, including Annie Scott, your primary PWR contact, and Reverend Sarah Schur, who are there in the sanctuary today. We know that this congregation and this minister will join together to bless each other, and those blessings of love and care will ripple out into the larger Unitarian Universalist Association, to the city of Portland and beyond. Please know that your Pacific Western Region staff is as close as an email or a phone call whenever you need us. May this be a day of wonderful memories as you bridge all the congregation has been to what it may yet be. In faith, Reverend Carlton E. Smith. Personally, I want to let this congregation know that I have been a stealthy admirer of yours since the 1990s. When I was a new board member at my home church in San Mateo, California, and we were trying to update our policies, procedures, and bylaws, we would often look at your website. How should we update our safety policy? I don't know. Let's see what Portland is doing. How should we update our investment policy? I don't know. Let's go see what Portland is doing. You all had an influence on me for decades, and it's about time for me to say thank you. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one in the wider UUA world, so thank you. Reverend Alison's impact on me is more recent. I first met Alison when I joined the Church at the Larger Fellowship board in 2013. I've often said that serving on the CLF board is one of the best board experiences you can have. In part, it was due to the flexibility and creativity that exists at CLF, and it had a lot to do with the people like Meg and Alison. And I want to honor the impact of Alison's campaign for president of the UA. While it did not result in her election, her message positively affected many of us. And I know that Alison is now also serving on the Star King board, She's a blessing to our association, and I thank you as well. Like both Carlton and Meg, I'm excited to see what you all, this congregation and this minister, will do next. Much love to all of you.
It is my delight and honor to offer greetings from the Pacific Northwest chapter of the UU Ministers Association. My colleagues and I, ministers from across the region, celebrate with you the significant milestone in your relationship as minister and congregation. I first met Alison when we, along with our preacher this afternoon, Rosemary, were a part of a UUA program called Dreaming Big more than a decade ago. This was a ministerial development program that helped us learn the dynamic, large congregational context. We visited First Church Portland in 2009 when you were between ministers. Tom was our guide. It was an august group, and I was rather honored to be included such talented and caring professionals such as Alison and Rosemary. We learned so much from our teachers, Jan Eller-Isaacs especially, and the other remarkable ministers who joined us on this journey. I remember being startled by the lack of bravado and ego in the group, which perhaps just speaks to the insecurities of so many in our world. We were learning together and brought out the best in each other. This congregation was so smart to call Alison as your senior minister. I can't tell you how wise you were to recognize in her the skill and sense, kindness and compassion and groundedness that she brings to this work, this hard, hard work. On behalf of your colleagues, Alison, we welcome you to the chapter. And on behalf of the ministers of our association in this region, we bring greetings and encouragement to the congregation on this most promising of days. May you bring out the best in each other, and may you have a long and healing journey. The world needs our healing, and you are well positioned to guide the way.
Our reading, the story of Tikkun Olam, as retold by Rachel, Naomi, Remen. In the beginning, there was only the holy darkness, the Ein Sof, or no end, the source of life. And then, in the course of history, at a moment in time, this world, the world of 1,000,000 things, emerged from the heart of the holy darkness as a great ray of light. And then, perhaps because this is a Jewish story, there was an accident. And the vessels containing the light of the world, the wholeness of the world, broke. and the wholeness of the world, the light of the world was scattered into 1,000 fragments of light, and they fell into all events and all people, where they remain deeply hidden to this very day. Now, according to my grandfather, the whole human race is a response to this accident. We are here because we are born with the capacity to find the hidden light in all events and in all people, to nurture it, to strengthen it, to lift it up and make it visible once again, and thereby to restore the innate wholeness in the whole world. It's a very important story for our times, and this task is called Tikkun Olam in Hebrew. Tikkun Olam. It's the restoration of the world. This is the collective task involving all the people who have ever lived, all the people presently alive, and all the people yet to come. We are able to do this not because we are doctors or artists or writers, but simply because we are human beings. We are the healers of the world, so we share a collective purpose. We were born to restore the wholeness of the world. You might say that no matter what our life's work is, we all have a single work.
As a child of this congregation, who started attending with my mother when I was a toddler, it is a special honor to be here to install this shared ministry between First Church and the Reverend Alison Miller. So what shall we do to acknowledge such a beautiful and important occasion? One way to express our satisfaction, our joy, is to share our gratitude tangibly out beyond these walls. Today's offering sustains two resources, which are dear to Reverend Alison personally and to Unitarian Universalism as a whole. Starr King School for the Ministry and the Unitarian Universalist Association's Living Tradition Fund. Starr King School educates people for Unitarian Universalist ministry and for progressive religious leadership in society. Their educational approach is rooted in UU values of countering oppressions and cultivating multi-religious life and learning. In my own time at Starr King, I was formed and forever changed by this mighty yet precarious institution. As I look out at this incredible gathering of lay and ordained leaders, I see many ideas, contributions, and actual real embodied people who have been served by Starr King so that they might serve the common good. Right now, the school faces extraordinary need for scholarship funding. If you want students to be able to access UU theological education that holds as its goal the creation of more just and sustainable community, please give generously. The Living Tradition Fund of the UUA strengthens Unitarian Universalism by providing need-based scholarships for ministers in formation, grants that reduce ministers' high educational debt. I have personally benefited from this program, and emergency assistance to ministers and other UU professionals in crisis. A few years ago, a beloved colleague of mine suffered a sudden personal tragedy, and I thought of the Living Tradition Fund. When I timidly called UUHQ to investigate whether my friend could receive funds for a lawyer to address part of the injustice facing her family, the response was love and prayers, absolutely no red tape, and a big check that arrived almost immediately. If you would like to be a part of this kind of rescue and solidarity, please give generously. There are a number of ways to participate in this offering. You can go to www.tinyurl.com/installation-plate. If you didn't quite catch that, that's okay. If you are watching online, look for the QR code or find the Donate Now button on Boxcast. If you're in person, you can find that QR code in the yellow slip of paper in the chair holders. Or if you would like to donate with cash or with a check, offering baskets will come around. I am going to give so that Star King School for the Ministry and the Living Tradition Fund can continue to cherish, embolden, and extend Unitarian Universalism and its leaders. And I do it out of trust and delight in the power of this congregation and its ministers. I invite you to join me now in giving.
I believe in the Son. I believe in the Son, even when it's not shining.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, those of you who are watching us on the live stream. I first want to bring greetings and congratulations from the faculty and staff and students at Star King's School for the Ministry in Oakland, California, where I have the honor of serving as president, and where Reverend Alison serves as a member of our Board of Trustees. It has been an honor for me to participate in the ceremonies and festivities this weekend because I have known Alison for a very long time. We were old friends by the time we got to Dreaming Big, that you heard about earlier. And Alison's mother was a fearless lay leader in New York City when I was a brand new lay leader in New York City. And she shepherded me through many trials and tribulations. And so it is a special honor for me to preach this installation, and I feel like Inez is with us. And I also want to take a moment to remember that we are in a place, in a city, in a state, where until 1922, I could not even have been here. And I didn't want to say another word without remembering and holding that up. In preparing for this afternoon and thinking about your theme for the year about being rooted in relationship and seeing David's fantastic artwork, I was looking at trees. I was thinking about readings about trees, and I came across this poem with a title that made me laugh, and the question was, what do trees think about in the morning? And it comes from this book of meditations, Poems of Earth and Spirit, by someone named Kai Siedenberg. And many of her poems in this volume concern themselves with trees, with nature itself, and its cycle of life, and the living and dying and rebirth of our world. Now, in full transparency, let me say that the embrace of nature does not come naturally to me. I am a city person to my heart, and everybody who knows me knows that. I was born and raised in Chicago, and I have spent more of my life in New York City than any place else. But trees are different somehow. They're a part of nature that is accessible to nearly everyone. You don't need fancy equipment or great shoes to attach yourself to a tree. And since Frederick Law Olmsted designed the park systems of both Chicago and New York, I've had a lifetime to love trees. So when I found this poem asking what do trees think about in the morning, I was curious about the answers, and alas, there were no answers. Only questions. But the questions did make me think about us as a faith tradition and helped me find in Siedenberg's words some metaphors for all of us in this time. She wrote in part, "Are trees proud to be part of a vast and ancient guild of skilled artisans performing the essential alchemy of transmuting sunlight, water, air, into leaves and branches, fruits and seeds, air for countless creatures to breathe. Is it thrilling to work this everyday magic, to create so much from such simple materials? How does it feel to do this noble, essential work?" Vast, ancient, skilled, essential, thrilling, noble, magic. Ever since I first encountered Unitarian Universalism nearly 50 years ago, ever since I signed the membership book at Community Church of New York nearly 40 years ago, I have believed and experienced at one time or another all these qualities within our faith. Our history is vast and ancient. Its branches spread broadly from Origen to Servetus to Margaret Fuller and Thomas Starr King and Jenkins Lloyd Jones and John Haynes Holmes and Ethelred Brown. From Thomas Lamb Eliot to Earl Morse Wilbur, from Theodore Parker to Rebecca Ann Parker. The work of liberal religion has borne fruit everywhere. Ours is an ancient story of the struggle for religious freedom, a story tempered by the struggles for physical freedom, the freedom to live by people of color, by women, by people of other gender expressions and sexual orientations, stories once ignored by this faith, now infusing our communities, reshaping our narrow beginnings, moving resolutely to meet this moment. We are becoming ever more skilled artisans of this faith. Sometimes in spite of ourselves, we are growing ever more skilled at change. We are becoming more nimble, sometimes because we have been forced to be. The pandemic immersed us in technology, for better or worse. We are learning to face the dynamic nature of 21st century religious life. It is often not what we are used to, or even what we prefer, but we have learned to count and to recognize the signs. The number of ministers who are retiring or moving out of parish life altogether. The number of young people who are UU in spirit, but would not be caught dead in our pews. And that includes my own children. The rising number of hyphenated UUs who find their deepest meaning in multi-religious practice. Some of us are frightened by these numbers and these signs, seeing in them a harbinger of a much diminished future. Others of us are exhilarated by it. We understand and realize that the changes some of us have dreaded all these years, the changes that some of us believed ultimately would take our churches away from us and render Unitarian Universalism unrecognizable, those changes are already here. And so we have become skilled artisans, leaning into the very alterations that we shunned not so long ago. And many of us are surprised to find it thrilling, finding the everyday magic that is present and available to us, even for those of us who say we don't believe in magic. And yet, we have more to think about than our own internal struggles as an association. Like this congregation's theme for the year of a tree with deep roots, the deep roots of Unitarian Universalism writ large lies in something greater than ourselves, something that most likely can be felt and known only when we are in enduring contact with one another. We need each other, and we cannot do what we need to do without each other. Our lives and our spirits and our faith depend on recognizing that need, acknowledging that need, and then acting on it throughout the course of our lives. We cannot be satisfied with thinking, though, that we do this spiritual work for our own sakes. To believe that would be to forget our larger collective calling. Humanity has once again reached an inflection point. And though that point will look different to us here in the privileged United States, it is real. It is also not unique. In every age, human beings have faced threats. Threats to liberty, threats to autonomy, threats to survival. There have always been people who wanted more than their share of money, or power, or land, who sought to control human beings, mentally and yes, even physically. In the current moment, Those people may own social media companies or newspapers or hold public office. They may believe that these acquisitions entitle them to acquire us too. Always, there have been people like this. The threats we face today are not a secret to anyone paying attention. Humanity is threatened by the massive economic and social inequalities that are a hallmark of white supremacy culture. Humanity is threatened by the erosion of democratic ideals. People around the world are giving up, or being forced to give up, on the idea of choosing for themselves what kind of government they want, what kind of leaders they want, what kind of communities they want, and who they want to be. Meanwhile, those with a vested interest in destroying democracy are busy gaslighting the rest of us about the failures of government and the uselessness of voting and the sameness of political parties, sucking us into this endless cycle of apathy that turned their claims into prophecy. Humanity is threatened by the climate crisis that may make all our other struggles moot. The skeptics who glossed over decades of warnings are now being confronted with seasonal realities heretofore unknown to scientists. Tornadoes in communities that have never seen them before. Mountainous regions engulfed in snow almost too deep to measure. In California, where I live, wild swings of weather between the ravages of wildfires and year-long droughts contrasted with atmospheric rivers that brought foot after foot after foot of rain. All these things are massive challenges. They will take years to address fully. Some segments of the population have no interest in addressing them at all. Momentum suggests that we are in a high-stakes battle with a lot to lose, and at this moment, we are losing. But in every age, only one entity allows human beings to survive, to preserve themselves and the lives that they have chosen to live against the threat of those who have very different ideas about what that life should be. That entity is community. And community, I think of a particular kind. Always, there have been communities of resistance, places where people learn to say no to powers and principalities, and yes to joy and fullness of life. How do we build such communities of resistance? I invite you to understand that that community is already here and available to us, because I believe that authentic religious community is the most important, most consistent, most effective community of resistance that there is. First Church Portland has deep roots in both Unitarianism and in the life of Portland. Our namesake, Thomas Starr King, preached to this in his era before the Civil War. Earl Morse Wilbur, the founder of the seminary I now lead, ministered here. Our strength rests in understanding, as liberal religious people, to whom we belong, in celebrating who and whose we are. We belong both to one another and to the liberal religion that creates shelters for our deepest longing. And we belong to the abundant spirit of life itself, for which we have many names. Like our movement, this church has done great things. Like our movement, this church has great things yet to do. You have called Reverend Alison to walk with you, to create with you the everyday magic, the essential alchemy that you will need to accomplish your part of the great work that is collectively ours as liberal religious people. Every Sunday, there will be people walking through those doors, wondering whether there is something more to be found in this life, something that transcends the culture of work and worry and weariness that is the treadmill of their lives. They will be looking for everyday magic, for the stories of community and extravagant, beautiful life as told by, as exemplified by this congregation. For 157 years, members of this congregation have been here to greet those newcomers, to inspire them, to reveal to them what is noble in us. And now it is your turn, your time, to remind yourself of your own collective calling. As you covenant with Reverend Alison to take up this holy work, our movement rejoices in you. May you celebrate both your rootedness and your transcendence. May you thrill to all that is to come. And may you be a blessing, as you always have been. Blessings and congratulations. Amen.
157 years, First Unitarian Church has been of service to the city of Portland, to the Pacific Northwest, and to the greater Unitarian Universalist movement. We gather this afternoon to install a new senior minister of this church and, in a spirit of mutual concern, to rededicate ourselves to the values of the liberal religious tradition of which we are a part. We cherish our church for its efforts to keep abreast of changing times and changing human needs. We honor its devotion to freedom and its groundedness in reason. We celebrate its belief in the intrinsic dignity and worth of all people and its commitment to building the beloved community. We cherish our church for all that it now has to give, the community of all ages it makes possible, the loyalties and common endeavors it fosters, the imagination and collaboration it stimulates, the care and compassion it offers, the call to justice it kindles. Will our former moderators, board members, and search committee members please stand? I'll read along with the past moderators of the board. We cherish the memory of those who founded, nurtured, and progressively transformed our existence as a congregation. And now the current members of the board. We cherish our church for what it may yet become through our united efforts. Our ministerial search committee. We have chosen you, Alison Beth Miller, as our senior minister, mindful of the great traditions of our heritage and of this church, and mindful of its vast promise. We look to you for moral leadership and spiritual guidance. We would have you speak the truth to us in freedom, minister to us in our joys and sorrows, and lead with love and by the light of your conscience with us and the wider community. This act of installation is a covenant between us, minister and people. Alison Beth Miller, we have called you to live among us, to make our concerns your concerns, and to lead us as you are enabled through grace in the paths of understanding, righteousness, and peace. We, for our part, pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to us all. As we would ask you to be charitable toward our failures, so we will also remember that you are human and can falter. We pledge to assist and cooperate with you in our common purpose, to deepen our spiritual lives, and to proclaim our liberal religious message. Do you accept the invitation of this church to its ministry?
I do.
In formal recognition of our election of Alison Beth Miller and of her acceptance, I ask the members of the First Unitarian Church of Portland to rise in body or in spirit and say with me, "We, the members of the First Unitarian Church, do hereby install you, Alison Beth Miller, as our minister. We pledge to move with you in all the ways of God or the spirit of love known, or to be made known to us. We offer you a free pulpit, our loving support, and the cooperation of our hearts and hands as you take up your ministry among us."
Mindful.
Testing. There we go. Mindful of the privilege and responsibility which are mine as minister of this truly great congregation, this beacon of religious liberalism, I pledge my consecrated efforts on your behalf. So far as I am able, I will live the truth in love. I will cherish and cultivate justice and devotion to the good. I am empowered by you and by your trust. I am led forth by my calling.
Reverend Alison, on behalf of the congregation, Mabsy and I would like to present you with this ceramic vessel created by Portland ceramicist Bev Cordova as a gift to welcome you as our senior minister. We hope it will enhance the beauty of the flower arrangements we all enjoy in this chancel each Sunday morning and for special ceremonies like dedications. We also have some gifts for you. That would not be good. We also have some gifts for you from the archives to honor the past and to look forward to the promise of the future.
My very own first Unitarian plate, right?
And from the depths of the archives, some special books for you.
Wow. The history of the First Unitarian Church of Portland. Wow. Let's see. Thank you. The history of the First Unitarian Church of Portland. Thank you. And our 125th anniversary of the First Unitarian Church of Portland, Oregon in 1991. Let's see. Oh, heavy. It is. Ooh, a special gift from the Hungarian congregation. Wow. Let's see. I don't know if we can. And let's see, we have A Time to Build and The Wide Open Door, First Unitarian Church, a Center for Renewal of Church and Society, the Yoke Fellow Institute. I like this one. The Passing Parade by Lyle E. Schaller. I think this is one I should study, knowing who Lyle E. Schaller is. And what is in the box? Let's see. Let's see. We have from the Hungarian church. Ooh, wow. almost a medallion about Francis David. Beautiful, beautiful. So thank you.
Now we're going to find out if the lavalier is on. Can you hear me? Beautiful. There are some moments that call upon us not only to offer prayers and blessings, but to embody those prayers and blessings. So we will share in a ritual of a laying on of hands, a building of a human network of connection. So Alison, I'm going to place you down in front here by this beautiful tree. Come on down. Ooh. Nope, didn't trip. And Alison, I invite you to root yourself here in this place, in front of this tree, among these people. Feel the strength of the earth coming up into you. And all of you gathered here in the room, through the magic of technology, feel the strength of the earth coming into you as well. And let us build our web. Members of Alison's family, David and Asher and Marilyn, please come up. Make a circle of love and support for Alison. You are her closest connections, her deepest taproots. And then, because in our living tradition, our ministries are partnerships among congregations and those called to our ministry, I want to invite the search committee, the members of the board, and all the past moderators of First Unitarian Church to come up. Come and add yourselves. And I should say, if moving is not good for your body today, you may remain seated and begin to hold out a hand to send up your connective energy. Like trees, we also receive energy through the air, so you can photosynthesize your love and your connection. And if you are a member of the board or a past moderator or a search committee member joining us via live stream, you can lift up your hand. The energy travels in many ways. Those of you who are here now, standing or with hands raised, who have served or are serving as leaders of this congregation, you have been entrusted with the authority to care for what this community and your new senior minister, Reverend Alison, will offer a world which needs us. And Reverend Alison does not do this alone. So I call forth the colleagues who are present today in the room. Come on up if you are able and add yourself, or lift a hand and send that energy. If you are colleagues joining us online, you can lift a hand up, send your energy forth. We do not do this work alone. Reverend Alison is supported in her ministry by a web of colleagues, near and far, national and international. And you, members of First Unitarian Church, you are supported by the network of congregations in the Unitarian Universalist Association and in more than 30 countries around the world. We are interconnected. And now I call forth all who wish to be part of this blessing. If you're up in the balcony, I invite you to place your hand on the shoulder of someone in front of you, and those of you in the front rows, hold your hands out. Send that photosynthetic love and support on down. If you're joining us via live stream, hands up and out. If you're here in the room on the floor and you'd like to come forward and build more onto this web of blessing, you are invited to do so. Whatever is right for you today. Make a little space here. Come on up. Can I slide past you here? Let me get back up here. And if at any point you have a hand raised and you need to lower it, that's okay. This is not arm day at church. It's okay. Please join with me in a spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, source of our being and our becoming, holy mystery, known to us by many names and by no name at all. We call forth blessings today. Blessings on the Reverend Alison Beth Miller. Blessings on First Unitarian Church of Portland, Oregon. Blessings on the ministry to which you are called together. May Reverend Alison be granted courage, compassion, and creativity in her ministry. May she give and receive these energies and many more. May you, too, members of First Unitarian Church, ministerial colleagues, religious professionals, all people of goodwill who come to serve this hurting world, may you, too, know courage, compassion, and creativity. We are connected to each other. We are connected through this laying on of hands, this sending of strength, this web of relationship. What a great blessing it is that none of us has to meet the needs and the struggles of this world alone. What a great joy it is that we have each other to celebrate and to lift each other up. May we remember, may we help each other to remember, may we embody these blessings as often as we can. May we know that the flow of this love comes to us and goes where it is needed. May you know yourselves blessed. I'm going to invite Alison to open her eyes and soak it up. Ministry is very hard and it is often very lonely, and it is moments like this when we fill ourselves with this deep truth that we do not do this work alone. And now if you have risen to come and join the web, you can make your way back to your seat. Thank you, Duro. Some traveling music is perfect.
I am honored today to speak on behalf of the youth and children of this congregation on the date of this important milestone, the installation of Reverend Alison Miller. Every year during teacher recruiting, I tend to say to prospective volunteers, I hope you'll recognize that you have as much to learn from our young people as they do from you. We are a learning community where we are all learning. I find over and over that our children and youth know what is most important. And they can help us come back to that time and again. We can offer guidance and experience to help them explore this more fully and live into their truths. And we must listen, most especially at times when we may be forgetting ours. The following is a synthesis of responses and input from our children and youth for this occasion. the youth and children ask that Reverend Alison Miller and this congregation affirm and nurture a community where they can bring their whole selves and find acceptance. A place where they can talk about the challenges of their lives and be honest about those challenges. And a place where friendships are made, friendships that are kept and are precious regardless of where they each go to school. A community that has fun while we learn, where we can build, draw, and create. Hear good stories written and through film that help us make sense of the world as well as share our own. A community of openness where anyone can join. We are free to explore, to be ourselves, and we are kind. And oh yeah, we really like snacks. The youth and children ask Reverend Alison Miller and this congregation for opportunities for everyone to get together, get to know each other, and have fun and eat together. That we find ways to be outside together, to spend time with our ministers and be known by them. That we celebrate our joys together. Let's party. That we are welcoming to more children who may join us. Oh, and we really do appreciate good snacks. Keep it coming. Reverend Alison and congregation, our children and youth ask, help us keep working to create the world we hope for. By not tolerating racism and other oppressions, and by celebrating diversity and learning together. By doing all we can to stop violence. Everyone deserves to feel safe. By actively caring about our neighbors, especially including our houseless neighbors and our animal neighbors. By helping make sure everyone can access trash cans in our communities and reducing waste by sharing resources. By loving and caring for the earth and all beings, and working for climate justice for all and the future of our planet, our future. Our children and youth ask for a church community and a world where we practice kindness toward one another. May kindness guide our way. Reverend Alison Miller and congregation, you have been charged by the youth and children of our First Unitarian Portland community.
I heard there would be snacks after this event. Just saying. Good afternoon. I am the Reverend Kim Mason, and I serve the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. I mention that because it was fascinating to hear the story this morning about Thomas Lamb Eliot and his arrival in Portland. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the creation of the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. I see some of you nodding. You already know where I'm going with this. The First Unitarian Church of St. Louis was founded as the Church of the Messiah when the 23-year-old Reverend William Greenleaf Eliot arrived in St. Louis. At the time, St. Louis was a frontier town of dirt streets with just a few thousand residents. Is this ringing a bell? Eliot played an important role in establishing the public school system, the art museum, the first child daycare center west of the Mississippi, the Western Sanitary Commission, and Washington University of St. Louis, among other notable activities. And I name all of these things, which sound very much like Thomas Lamb Eliot's litany, because William Greenleaf Eliot was Thomas Lamb Eliot's father. And so, as Alison said earlier, it is quite a pulpit to step into and quite a legacy to inherit. So as one ministerial inheritor of an Eliot pulpit to another, come on up. In the 20+ years I have known you, you have always been a person who said yes. Try an unproven and experimental treatment regimen for a rare form of cancer? You said yes. Be the first moderator of the new General Assembly Young Adult Caucus? You said yes. Take in a random stray dog you found wandering in a ghost town in Oklahoma? Yes. Fall in love and marry a ponytailed school teacher from the buckle of the Bible Belt? You said yes. Take in the neighborhood's blind and stray cat when you moved to New Jersey? She said yes. Co-chair the creation of an immigrant worker center in New Jersey while being threatened by the mayor? Yes. Run for UUA president at the request of the Presidential Nominating Committee? You said yes. Answer the call of a congregation 3 time zones away and move your family quite literally from one coast to another? She said yes. Saying yes is the very first rule of improv. And if you know anything about improv or about ministry, you know that good improv and good ministry go hand in hand. The Reverend Marianne McKibben Dana says, we're all improvisers, whether we realize it or not. It teaches flexibility and creativity to embrace whatever comes your way. I came to improv during the pandemic when I needed a practice to help me center and ground myself. That Eliot legacy can rest a little weighty on the shoulders. And so I want to share my top 3 lessons from improv with you. Rule 1, say yes and. This is the ultimate rule of improv. We know you have no problem saying yes. As you establish roots here in Portland, I want you to be authentic to your yes nature and make time for your priorities. Say yes to that evening committee meeting and make sure you take a break for dinner with your family. Say yes to the leadership requests that will come your way and find local partners to collaborate with. Say yes to a rooted relationship in your new city and congregation and maintain the connections that have supported you this far. Say yes and remember that healthy boundaries and clear priorities will sustain a thriving ministry together. Rule 2, listen and pay attention. You are a remarkably good listener, able to be present in the moment and deeply engaged in any conversation. You are also very good at ignoring the things your own body tells you. Do I need to tell the story about your appendix rupturing during a wedding? It's true.
Lesson learned.
Make space to listen to yourself, to be present to your body and engaged with your heart. Make time to connect through spiritual practice and ask yourself, where is health and vitality present? Where is healing and renewal needed? Listen to your friends who know you and pay attention to the places where ministry flourishes. And listen to David. He has a pretty good sense of when to call it a day and head home to be with your family. Rule 3, there are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. You went through a process of deep discernment to accept the call here. Sink in and let yourself belong to these people, just as they belong to you. Trust the ground beneath you as you build networks of mutuality in the congregation and in the larger community. As we continue to emerge from the COVID years, we are moving into new forms of ministry. I was there the Sunday you wore a bunny suit for Easter worship. And so I know that joyful learning is a gift of yours. Be rooted in this relationship so that you might jointly find growth and renewal. Let the healing power of deep connection blossom into love as you and First Unitarian thrive together. The great jazz saxophonist Sonny Rollins said, "Improvisation is the ability to create something very spiritual." Good ministry and good improv go hand in hand in creating something very spiritual. May you and First Unitarian Portland learn the truth of that statement as you say yes together to this faith-filled and promising new relationship. Blessings on you all.
Friends, I get to charge you, this congregation. And so I'm going to tell you about your part in this improvisation. The thing about improv is that you need a good partner who is willing to go to the yes and with you. You need a partner who is open to the magic that Reverend Rosemary talked about. And so magic sounds really good, but it doesn't capture the fullness of what I am asking you to do. Magic doesn't fully capture the leaping into the unknown. Leaping into the unknown is also super scary. The reason people write books and give sermons or give charges about leaping into the unknown is because we don't want to do that. Because leaping into the unknown is completely unnatural. It is biologically and systemically not how we are built. We, human people, like homeostasis. We may lean to the right, and then we come right back to the middle. We may tilt to the left, and then we snap right back to the middle, because in truth, it is scary to go off into the wilderness. That is where danger lurks. And we don't like danger. Our bodies know that going off into the wilderness is dangerous and it is risky. That is where the coyotes live. I did my research. I know you have coyotes out here. And let's be honest, doing risky things does not always work out. We don't always succeed. And sometimes when we do risky things, things break. But the story of Tikkun Olam reminds us that the vessels are already broken. And so if we start from there, the vessels are already broken. Nothing is perfect, and nothing is pristine. the most precious thing broke already, and the world didn't end. Instead, what we got is this magical, miraculous thing. And so if we take that as our premise, then maybe we can risk breaking something, because something miraculous may come forth. And still, we hesitate, because hurtling off into the unknown is also hard. We have to learn to do new things in new ways. And, let's face it, none of us is getting any younger. You work hard and you learn a new thing, a new skill, or a new rule, or a new system, and now we have to let go of that, learn a new thing, maybe not an entirely new thing, but new enough that it is a challenge. The good news is that you are not alone. Because remember, the thing about improv is partners. You have called this talented and experienced, kind and generous and creative new leader. You know this. You chose her. You have gotten to work and worship with her these many months. Rest in that. Allow yourself to be guided in a new direction. Bring a friend along, because it is always better to follow a new path with a friend. But do follow. And even more than follow, partner. Bring your energy and your spark and your ideas. Maybe they won't work. Some of them, if you do it right, a lot of them won't work. But some of them will. Because maybe this congregation is waiting for your new sparky idea. This congregation is waiting for you in the same way that this community is waiting for you, First Unitarian Portland. In the same way that this world is waiting for us, Unitarian Universalism. And here is the thing. Treading into the unknown, however challenging or dangerous or unnatural, treading into the unknown is also necessary for growth. How do you think it is that we have not just survived, but thrived and innovated? The truth is that we cannot soar off into our future if we are not willing to really, really spread our wings all the way out. We cannot heal the world unless we are willing to touch the light. And that, my friends, is thrilling. May you have joy and sparks and magic and miracles in this thrilling new journey of yours.
Truth has made us free. And the Spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet shall be. Bright the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on. Life calls us on. Life calls us on. Life calls us
And now in our going, we have good snacks. And may the light of love bless us and keep us. May it radiate down upon us, and may it radiate out from within us. May it be gracious unto all of us, and may it grant that we are a healing community in this broken world with great possibility for wholeness and light. So as we go forth, may we celebrate and savor this moment. May it nourish us in the days and weeks and months and years ahead. And today is the day that we are given. So let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go and create peace. Go and practice love again and again and again. Go in joy and with hope that you are enough, that each and everyone here is a great blessing to this community, to our city, and to the world. Blessed be.